It says it's recording.
Okay, perfect. So then I don't even have to keep in here.
You know what? Leave me a phone number in case I have to phone you.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be 250-444-4443.
Okay, I got it.
And then you're in control of the waiting room. There should be a few people there, and it looks like you're recording already, so you're all set.
Okay.
All right, give me a call if you need anything else from me.
All right.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Okay, cheers. Good afternoon, Lori, Tammy, and I think I see Ann there, although, yeah, there's Ann. Hi, Ann.
Hello.
Hi, Ann. Hi, Teresa. Folks, we've got quite a number left to go here. We've got 5 minutes, so we'll start at 1:15. Lori, maybe could you mute because you've taken over the screen? Welcome, Darren, Christine.
Hello.
Hi, Christine.
We need somebody to take the minutes today, and I can't volunteer.
Yeah, I've got Juliana Chadwick has volunteered.
Perfect. I'm expecting a phone call from my doctor, and it could come today, it could not.
Okay.
But, so if I have to just to mute and stop the video for a bit, that's why.
Yep.
Great, thank you.
All right. Welcome, Rachel.
Thanks, John.
Hi, Juliana.
Hello. So I'll be taking the minutes today, just,
Okay, that'll be great, Juliana. I guess, yeah, I'm going to be doing some of Chris's duties as well. I'll project what I can onto the screen as we go, including for your presentation, which we've got on the agenda as well today.
thank you.
So we'll make sure that's up there. I may have to call on you if we have any motions put on the table, just to make sure that we have an accurate read of any motion that might come forward.
Understood. Okay,
Yeah, we can just do that orally. You can just read it.
fine.
But just make sure that we take note of any motions that come across the table.
Yes. Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, I've got Tammy online saying that she's having a volume issue. So does that mean that your wine glass is not holding enough, Tammy, or? No one got the humor in that. All right. She has fixed it. We've got Tanis just joining. Welcome, Tanis. And Heather Elliott. I've got Heather Elliott here. Heather, you're new to the table. Who are you representing today? Hi, Heather. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you?
Good, thanks. Heather, who are you with today?
I came with Tanis.
Oh, okay. So coins then. All right.
Yeah. But I work for the Ministry of Social Development.
Okay, great. I think you and I have met before for the
Yes.
pitch out.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. It looks like we're not waiting on anyone anymore. We've got 1 minute to go here.
Somebody's got a radio or something on. I can hear it in the background.
Oh, that, you know what? That's my, just give me 1 sec. Yeah. That's me. Sorry.
No problem.
Okay, better? Can everyone see that on screen? Okay, for some reason, I'm not hearing anyone now.
I can see it.
Oh, I can hear there.
I can see it.
Okay, good. All right. So we'll get underway here. Sorry about the slight delay. I've got this screen sharing thing to deal with because Chris usually does this. So we'll start the meeting. Welcome, everybody. We've got quite an agenda today, so we'll start with the introductions. We'd like to begin by acknowledging and honoring with gratitude that the land upon which we gather is the traditional territory of First Nation elders and peoples who have lived and continue to live here and have cared for these lands. All right, we don't have to go over Zoom etiquette. Please take the time, however, to mute your mic when you're not using it. That keeps your image from taking over the screen. Whatever mic is active is what appears on the screen. I can't see everyone, so please be patient if we have to vote and I have to somehow tally votes because I've got this screen projection blocking my view. So, all right. So we've got to adopt the agenda. You can see the agenda here. We will need someone to move to adopt the agenda and to second it, please.
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Christine. Seconder. And Juliana, thank you. And remember, I can't see you while I've got something projected here. So anyway, we'll try stick handle on that. All right. So now I have to go back to the minutes. All right, minutes from the last meeting. Hopefully you guys had a chance to go over them on your own. Chris mailed them out last week. We will need a motion to adopt the minutes as being read and a seconder on that, please. And I should call for everyone in favor. So do we have a motion to adopt the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Christine. Moves that the motion that the minutes be adopted as read. Somebody second.
Tammy will second.
Thank you. And Tammy seconds. And all in favor? Anyone against? All right, we'll move forward with that. And let's see if I can do this without wrecking everything. There we are. There's our agenda. So we've got reports for starters. Oh, and remember the meeting is being recorded. Morgan Stroman is in the background. He's the host of the meeting today. I'm the co-host. We've got the record button going right now, as far as I can see. So that said, we can move forward. We have an update on the winter/COVID shelter at Hardy View, and I'm assuming that will be either Darren or Teresa.
Thank you, John. Yeah, so I'm sure that this kind of dovetails to the item below around the TUP, but yeah, shelter will be continuing on an extension of the TUP at the Hardy View location. We're still seeing an average of 10 occupants a night, and yeah, we continue to carry on.
Thank you, Darren. And do you want to just continue on with the next item?
It was extended. So
Okay.
that was, yeah, it was before City Council. It was brought forward by BC Housing, as they are actually the leasers of the building. And my understanding is it was a vote of 4-3 by City Council to approve.
All right, questions for Darren regarding his report? And again, you might have to be vocal because I can't see you all.
Juliana has a question.
Thanks, Juliana. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I think I missed the council meeting. So Darren, how long is it extended to?
So this is an extension through to May 3rd or March 31st, 2022.
2022. Okay, great, thank you.
More questions? I take it there's no further questions. I'm working my way around. I can manage to see you all if I toggle here on the screen a bit. So we'll move forward then. We've got an update on the Campus of Care recommendation to council. Now I will attempt to, I've got a letter that was forwarded to council. I guess, do you see the entire letter there, you guys?
I do, but it's not readable. Would you like me just to read it out, John?
Okay, in the meantime, I'll try figure out this waiting room thing. I've got 2 people waiting to get in.
Okay. So the resolution that the Grand Forks Social Services Advisory Group put forward to council, and it was done by Councillor Moslin and myself, was that the GFSSAG recommend that the City of Grand Forks formally endorse the Campus of Care model and move forward with the development of the formal proposal to BC Housing, and takes this into consideration as proposals continue to develop. And that resolution was endorsed. Council is currently working with the province and BC Housing in connection with the motocross site and the 2nd Street site. The city's goal is to establish supportive housing in the most appropriate and helpful locations to those individuals who are in need. This process unfortunately takes time and a lot of planning in order to facilitate what is best for everyone. Your extensive research on the Campus of Care model will help council in determining the best path forward, as any decision regarding supportive housing will ultimately impact the whole community. Thank you to the GFSSAG for their continuing advice. And if you have any questions, please contact Daniel Drexler at info@grandforks.ca or 250-442-8266.
All right, thank you. So that was the city's response to the motion. Now, I'll go back to the agenda here. Can everyone see that? Yeah, okay. So that was the response to the motion. Given that, now's the time for questions. We don't have anything more to clean up with regard to the motion. That was taken to council. Council has responded. So questions regarding council's response? I see none. I have a question, Christine.
Okay.
I'm finding, the wording on the letter to be somewhat vague, and thank you for, giving us an indication of what council is presently involved with insofar as negotiating with BC Housing regarding the Moto site. One thing I'm unclear on, considering the letter, is whether or not council has endorsed or embraced the Campus of Care model, and whether or not the Campus of Care is an integral part of the negotiation with BC Housing. In other words, is a Campus of Care model a condition in those negotiations.
Well, I'm sure you're aware, John, and I'm not trying to evade the question,
Yep.
but land issues are in camera.
Yes.
And so any discussions or we're having with BC Housing and the Attorney General and Minister responsible, I can't divulge. But I will say this, that model of care has been mentioned, and I do believe that they are prepared to have a look at it if it will fit in with their mandates, and that's about all I can say at this time. When things are moving forward and are released, then I can share more information.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Christine?
Just a response to your question, Jan. When that motion was put forth, somebody at the table had clarified whether or not that would be, whether or not the campus of care would be the exclusive model or the only model. And the response at the time was that no, it wouldn't be the exclusive model, that it would in fact be one of the contenders. And so I just want to clarify that they can't make that a condition and also make it one of the contenders.
Thanks, Tammy. Yes, I recall that discussion, and I remember it the same way. I was just wondering at this point, in consideration of the city's, I guess, commitment to endorse the model, how pivotal a role it's playing in the negotiations. And I think Christine has indicated that she's told us all she can at this point, but thanks for clarifying. Any other questions? Okay, we'll move on. Okay, so I guess this kind of segues into the next one, which is update on Moto for supportive housing / shelter. Christine, would that be you?
I guess it would. I kind of thought we had already discussed that with that we are dealing with BC Housing. It's a land issue, as I say, and so there's really nothing I can share as to where we are in those negotiations.
All right. Okay, moving on then. An update on the COVID vulnerable population. I'm thinking, Darren, on that?
Yep, thank you, John. Our outreach team continues to provide vulnerable population outreach. And yeah, it's that time of season where folks are kind of repositioning themselves, and my team is scrambling to keep up as they relocate, as water rises and they move through communities. So yeah, they're busy guys.
And can we ask if you've had any, without compromising privacy issues or privacy, have you had any difficulties with COVID or COVID infection?
We're not answering that question, but thank you for asking.
Okay. Just curious. Okay. Now, Rachel Warner on seniors services.
Hello. Thanks for having me today, everybody. I just want to, I guess, talk a little bit about what I do and some of the gaps that I'm seeing through my work. But also, I'm really excited to hear what Juliana's presentation is. I read about her age-friendly community, and I'm excited to hear all what she has to say. But first off, so Better at Home is a fairly new program from Christina Lake to Beaverdale and outlying areas. And we provide non-medical supports to seniors. And it's a really amazing program. However, like any other program, it has gaps. And when I have, when I talk to seniors and find out these gaps, I've been compiling a list, and I take it to Darren every now and then and say, what do I do about this? How can we handle this? How can we deal with some of these gaps that we're seeing? And so he suggested that I bring it to this group, and maybe there's a discussion point of something that I can learn from you guys. Maybe you guys know something I don't know, or just open the discussion to some of the gaps that we're seeing for senior services. So because Better at Home does non-medical supports, we visit with people, we have tea with seniors. We're allowed to go in, and as long as they're comfortable with it, and the seniors and our volunteers are comfortable with it, we're allowed to go into their homes wearing the proper PPE and have a visit and have tea. And that's solved some of their issues, some of their problems and challenges, just by being able to sit down with them and visit. We also bring food to them. The food bank has been, sorry, my phone is ringing here. The food bank has been really great with supporting us with food, so that seniors that may feel not quite ready to access the food bank can reach out to myself, and we can pick up bags and drop it off. We also do grocery shopping for them. We pick up mail, drop it off at their house, and we've started doing some transportation to and from doctor's appointments, or we have one lady that we drive her to her hair appointment on one day a week because she's not quite comfortable driving anymore. So those are some of the things that we're actively doing in all of our communities across the boundary right now. And it's going really well. I'm having lots of volunteers. I'm having lots of seniors inquiring about programs. Our housekeeping piece is just about ready to be launched, where we do light housekeeping for our seniors. And it's pretty awesome. I'm loving it. Some of the gaps that I'm seeing are, and these are phone calls that I get just saying, I've tried so many other places. How does this happen? Sorry. I've contacted, Interior Health, and they can't support me with this, or I've, looked online trying to get support with something else, and there's nothing out there. So one of the things that we're finding is 24-hour care after a surgery, paid care, not something that's done for free, but we have many seniors that live alone that need a hip replacement, or they need their knee replacement. And when they go for their surgery, their doctor won't let them come home unless they have somebody who is taking care of them for 24 hours. And because of COVID restrictions, that has limited a lot of seniors being able to have family members coming from Alberta to come and take care of them and to be able to support them in that. So that's a gap that we're finding. Respite that is without boundaries. So in the sense of home care the hospital can do some respite, but it doesn't cover all the needs that we're finding seniors that are caregiving for their partner, that those needs are not being addressed. In-home meal preparation and cooking, that is something that my program isn't allowed to do, and home care isn't allowed to do. So there's a gap there for many seniors to be able to get healthy food for them on a daily basis, and to be able to access that within their own home, to have somebody help them out with that. We've seen lots on social media over the last while about our senior center. And I know that that's a hot topic and that's a sensitive issue, but that's a real concern for many seniors, is that they have nowhere to go to gather. They have no place to go to get together. And that, for many of them, has been a light, a joy, their sense of community. That's their family. Those are the people that they are connecting with when they get to gather and play games. And we're really missing that. When I say we, I'm talking on behalf of all my my people, all my seniors. And so they really miss that. And then the other concern they have is when they get to that age where they don't drive, how do they get to the senior center? So transportation is a really big issue. One of the things that I've learned is that there's no consistent transportation from Christina Lake to Grand Forks. So if you are a senior in Christina Lake, how do you get to Grand Forks if you only buy your milk at Bilo and there's nowhere else for you to get what you need? And that's an issue. And housing, we could talk about housing until we're blue in the face. Affordable housing for seniors who want to downsize, semi-supported housing. So housing for people that are not quite ready to go into, say, Hardyview Lodge or Phoenix Manor, but they need somewhere in that in between where they can't take care of their house anymore, their yard. They need somebody to pop in on them a couple times a day, maybe help them prepare some food, not necessarily do everything for them, but have some sort of semi-supported housing. And then probably my biggest gap that I'm finding is funding. Funding and money, funding. Where do we get it? How do we access it? How can we pay for all of these things that are, I feel, are a real concern for our seniors? And so I'm bringing this to the table to see, how can our community support these seniors that are facing some pretty big challenges at the end of their life? How are we going to take care of them? So
I have a
Yes.
question, Rachel.
Sure.
At one time, there used to be Meals on Wheels. I know when my mother was still living and not able to prepare her own meals, she took advantage of that program. Is that not in existence anymore?
It is. However, it is $6 a day for a meal. So for some people that is okay. Some people can financially afford that. Most people cannot. And so that's been, a challenge. We always, do a referral and say we have this option. We also utilize Gospel Chapel and their cooking program that they have there when we need to. So, there are supports out there, but sometimes these seniors, they just want to be able to cook in their own kitchen, and maybe, they can't necessarily prepare their food the way they used to, or stoves have changed. And if you're in a new place with a new stove, you're not quite, sure. And burnings happen a lot more than we think. And fire alarms go off a lot more than we think. So, so we just wanted to highlight some of the issues, and these are concerns.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tammy here.
Hi, Tammy.
Thank you, Rachel. I've been seeing these things for some time as well. I just wanted to remind you that the Courtesy Kitchen does do deliveries if you phone the night before, so you can add that to your list of resources.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any more questions for Rachel? I see Juliana.
Yes, thank you. This really hits home for me. I've been working tirelessly to try and get a seniors center running when we can meet, and I'll have more on that in just a bit. I was going to ask you how you were funded, but you said you're not funded right now. Have you tried grants from New Horizons, which is specific to seniors? The government grants from New Horizons, and I think there's still a $5,000 grant available to apply for. We were able to get it, and that, and meal prep. And I was going to say something about the soup kitchen as well, because the president of the Seniors Society works at the soup kitchen, and he has said that a lot of seniors do tend there, and because of the cost and everything, but also to see people, just to get out and see other people, and that's a good place. As the New Horizon, So just touch on your housing and affordable housing and that. I don't know if you're aware of Whole Way House and the low cost affordable housing for seniors project that they're going to be bringing in if they get their grant coming up soon. So we should hear from that. And I have met with Jenny, who is running the Whole Way House. Met her weeks ago. We had a coffee meeting with the executive of the Senior Society. Because if that comes in, they have low cost housing for seniors. They are building a senior center. So the senior center will be a separate building, part of Whole Way House, and will be operating at that location, which is across from the curling rink where they were setting up. So there are good things coming out. They're still looking for long-term leasing space, because even if this comes through, it'll be 2 years before a center goes up. So we're still looking for places to lease so that we can have the programs running once we're allowed to for all the seniors. And if you have information or anything like that, you can always share it with me, because I have a mailing list and I send out emails to our seniors. And I could send any email you like out to them, let them know you're available and available for help with that. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you, Juliana. Any more questions for Rachel?
Hi, Rachel. Tanis here. Although I know that this is specific for Indigenous people, Coins does have an Aboriginal health coordinator, and there's usually funding for seniors. So if you have any seniors that are Indigenous, First Nations, Métis, or Inuit, there are services available for seniors, and always funding available through First Nations Health Authority and Métis Nation BC. So you can always refer any of your seniors to that program right now. And I'm standing in that position right now, but they will hopefully be hiring somebody in the near future. So any of your clients, any of your seniors that self-identify, they don't have to have status or Métis citizenship, as long as they self-identify.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And that's rides for medical appointments and things as well.
Do you charge for that, or is that
No, it's a free service.
Okay.
Thanks, Tanis. Any more questions for Rachel? Okay, well, this will segue nicely into what Juliana's going to speak about. Thank you, Rachel. It was interesting to hear about everything that you're offering through FIS. I have one question for you. Insofar as seniors accessing the services that you're coordinating through FIS, is it well known? Does everybody know how to access these services and get hold of you and take advantage of them?
I hope they do. We do referrals through Interior Health, through Laura Detel, the social worker, all the clinics right across the boundary. We've been in contact with each seniors center across the boundary, each seniors group. We put an ad in the paper. We have a Facebook page. We're on the FIS page. So hopefully if somebody doesn't know, I like being able to be a part of these groups to get the word out, so that if you know somebody that would potentially use our services, you can give them my number. So.
Okay, appreciate it. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Juliana, we'll turn it over to you. Just hang on for a sec, and I will try and share that screen out. And here we go. I hope this works. Can we see this? Are we able to see it?
I can see it, so I'm assuming everybody
All right.
can. And just before I start, Tanis, I did send you a little message. Maybe you could read that, because I'm taking minutes and just did the organizations repeated that that you had given to Rachel. Anyway, so age-friendly community. Okay, well, of course, I didn't make this up. This is from the Government of Canada. Has an initiative out for age-friendly communities for seniors, and it's something very achievable for a community to do. And it's not a new concept. It's been out there, and this is from a senior's perspective. There's many things you can add to this, like children's parks and things like that. Anyway, so we need to recognize the need of all community members by developing friendly communities. And we're all aging, and it's necessary to recognize the factors that improve the lives of older populations today. Age-friendly effort helps seniors continue to be valuable and active participants in their community. And how can you promote that? Well, an age-friendly community keeps residents connected, healthy, and active. And to be age-friendly, a community just needs to meet the needs of all the people of all ages, whether you're pushing a stroller or a walker, basically. So I pulled out some of the things that are possibly achievable here in Grand Fork. Starting at home, like making sure that seniors are safe in their home by installing the right equipment, like grab bars and bright lights and things that will keep them safe in their own home and prevent falls. Things like hardware stores can start an initiative in town to help promote this by offering these items up for sale and how to install them correctly for seniors. Seniors could attend little seminars or things like that the hardware store could promote and that. Evaluating the environment, well, mobility becomes difficult. And so we've taken a look at the design of buildings, elevators, parks, structures. Do they support the needs of older adults? Maintenance of existing sidewalks and letdowns that need regular sweeping and repair. Benches are important for those who want to rest while they're walking. You want people to get out walking. I know myself, I had a fall recently, so I'm walking with a cane now. And I find that right now the sidewalks are very, after the winter, very polluted with sand and such. So they could use a good sweep for people in wheelchairs and things. Supporting healthy choices. Well, communities can help seniors benefit from healthier food options, like at the farmers market and grocery stores. They can help with this. And the Downtown Business Association could encourage senior days at businesses. I know some already have that, and everybody appreciates that. Leverage the older community. Look for opportunities to engage with seniors as volunteers or mentors or even an older worker in the workplace. And then leverage your own personal skills by teaching seniors financial planning or a health and safety workshop or anything like that. And of course, the senior center can help with that. And I would be so on board with things like that when the senior center is back up and running. And lastly, we need a senior standing committee to report problems to council and recommendations to seniors in a way to engage council on these senior issues and help them stay on point. I write a recommendation there, and it's probably a little wordy, but I guess recommendation is based on whether this whether we support age-friendly community or not. Then we can put a recommendation toward council. So the recommendation would be that council support and implement an age-friendly community initiatives, and to include but not limited to the promotion of health and safety for senior programs to support seniors and the startup of a standing committee for seniors made up of senior community members to ensure the issues are being addressed. And yeah, so if anybody has any questions, field those.
I'd like to say something. Julianne and I have been talking about this, and one of the things that I was thinking about, because I know that it's in the works, is to have Market Street shut down in some way. And I had said to her that, there was a lot of seniors last year that found it very difficult. There was no parking for them to get to the downtown Market Street because it was completely shut down. And there was lots of areas along that street that never seemed to get utilized at all. And we were discussing the possibilities of, rather than shutting it down completely, perhaps making it a one-way, one lane and have it weave down the street. That way you could have parking in certain spots and you'd still have room for salespeople with artisans and food trucks and whatever else. And the other thing that I had noticed, because my husband and I had to go up to Trail Hospital a few weeks back, was that at Trail Hospital, they've got a section with about 6 or 8 parking spots that say for seniors only. It's not anything to do with being handicapped. It's not anything to, it just says seniors. And I don't know if you guys have been to Trail Hospital recently, but that parking lot is a long way from anything. So it's kind of nice to be able to do that. And I think being able to offer that for some of our seniors so they can go downtown, they can enjoy the downtown core and not make it so that it's impossible. And certainly I talked to lots of seniors that last summer, once it was closed down, never went down there again. So I think if you want to make it senior friendly, this would be a really good way to start with this coming summer.
Thank you, Anne. Any other questions for Juliana?
Just wanted to say thank you, Anne, for mentioning that. I did forget, and I apologize to mention that in there.
I don't see any further response, but Juliana, you've got a recommendation attached to the end of your report. I don't see why we shouldn't just deal with it now. If you'd like to put this forward as a motion, you will need a seconder on that, and then we can open that up for discussion and call the question on it. So would you like to put a motion on the table then?
Yes, I'd like to put this forward as it is right now. And
all right, do we have a seconder on the motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, and Palmer seconds. So that opens up the discussion. Okay, the motion reads that council support and implement age-friendly community initiatives to include, but not limited to, the promotion of health and safety for seniors programs to support seniors and the startup of a standing committee made up of senior community members to ensure senior issues are being addressed. Quite a lengthy motion. I don't see why it can't stand though on its own, but it is multifaceted. Given that, anyone like to speak to the motion? Nobody? Juliana?
I hope everybody, if nobody has any comments on it, then I hope this committee as a whole supports the age-friendly community initiative and be able to move forward on that, on something with this. It's actually
Christine, I was
something
hoping you would chime in here. Thank you.
Just a couple of things. I hear what is being proposed. And I don't have any particular issue with it. It's unfortunate though, and I guess I'm going more to what Anne said, that this wasn't addressed and council made aware of these concerns prior to authorizing the closure. And the DBA, Downtown Business Association, is aware of issues as it relates to parking, particularly for seniors. And on 3rd Street, there are, I think 8 in total, accessible parking issues, parking places for seniors and those with other issues. So it's not that that issue is being ignored. It's that It has been looked at, and certainly would be, if this motion does pass, would be prepared to bring it forward at our next council meeting.
Okay, thank you, Christine. You know, when I look at the motion, I think it's asking council to support and implement age-friendly community initiatives. And then she speaks of the standing committee, which suggests that this could be a mayor's appointed committee. So, you know, am I correct in assuming, Juliana, that the intent here is for the city to take the initiative to start a standing committee?
Yes, just because we don't want to lay that all on the plate of this committee, if council supports it, their way to implement it is to start a standing committee. And those people appointed to the standing committee, of course, will be the ones that overlook things, take care of things, the recommendations forward to council, rather than it coming directly from this committee.
And you're offering yourself up, Juliana, as the liaison then between the seniors organization and the city?
I would do that, yes.
Okay. All right. Any more questions with regard to the motion?
Yeah, I have my hand up.
Okay.
I actually, one is a question I'd like clarification on, and the other is a comment. So my question for clarification is, when Christine speaks of these parking spaces, are these handicapped, or are they actually listed as being for seniors' use?
No, they're not handicapped. They're not probably going to be, as I understand it, I don't know what signage, if any, we're gonna do. I'll confirm that though. And, but it's intended that seniors and people with issues that don't have an easy time can park kind of in the middle. The locations are one by the, there's a parallel by the pot shop, whatever that store is called, where it used to be Value Drugs. There's one across the street by Avalon Gardens. There's one parallel on 3rd, and the rest are angle parking by the source.
Okay,
On
thank you.
3rd, Christine? By the
On
source?
3rd, they're all on 3rd because 3rd Street will be a through street. But you'll have to stop at Market heading north and south. Oh, and there, I think there's two parallels across the street by the mural on Jack Moffat's building.
Okay, thank you, Christine. My comment was that I think it's disheartening that in a community that has got 54% of its population as being seniors, that council didn't even consider the seniors when they considered Market Street and a complete closure. There are ways to do it that would be a lot more helpful for the majority of our population that has issues.
Well, I hear what you're saying, and I understand that. It's unfortunate that these concerns weren't shared after the closure last year and before we implemented the closure this year, because those things could have been discussed and taken into consideration.
I've actually shared this with a whole bunch of people that are involved with the beautification in the downtown core, and obviously it just fell on deaf ears one more time.
That's unfortunate.
Okay, more questions? All right, I guess we can call the question then. The motion reads that council supports, implements age-friendly community initiatives to include but not limited to the promotion of health and safety for seniors, programs to support seniors, and the startup of a standing committee made up of senior community members to ensure senior issues are being addressed. All in favor of the motion, please show of hands. Okay, against? Any against? I'm just flipping screens here. I see no opposition, so that motion is carried. So for the record, Juliana, we will hopefully, Christine, I guess, if you would be kind enough to bring that to council on behalf of the committee. Oh, you're muted, Christine, sorry.
Yes, I will. I will include this in my report to council for the May 3rd meeting.
Appreciate that. Well done, Juliana. We appreciate your report. Oh, Juliana, I see you had a hand up.
I just wanted to thank everybody for their support for this. Thank you.
Okay, well, I think it's great that we're getting some seniors issues onto the table. You know, and it was nice to hear from Rachel as well. I learned a lot today about what Boundary Family Services are offering. It was all news to me. I had no idea that there were so many supports available through Boundary Family. So well done, both of you. Thank you. So we have old business on the table, and we had an outstanding.
You're missing other reports.
Am I? Oh, I'm sorry. Other reports by those present. Missed it. Thank you. Anyone with an additional report?
I do.
Oh, okay. Anne?
Yeah, this is what I heard back from the community regarding the Heart of You shelter, and I'll just read it. It says, regarding the shelter, residents in the area are extremely disappointed. We feel so let down, mainly by Everett, and he lost lots of votes for any future political endeavors. Most have agreed to call the RCMP for anything happening or anyone walking around the streets. She goes on, there's a bunch of other stuff in here that's not pertinent. She says, all of our immediate neighbors have installed security cameras now. The consensus is the councillors don't have the backs of the citizens. That's it.
Okay, and I guess you're trying to keep it confidential who wrote the letter, but that was written on behalf of the neighborhood. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Any comments with regard to Anne's report?
I'd like to know how many signatures are on the letter.
Anne?
There was, I'm not too sure. I think council, and perhaps Christine can say just how many letters were written against the shelter staying open. This is just a response from the community in the area. It's not a signed letter because all the letters that were signed already went in.
A letter from the community. Just wondering how many people in the community did that letter represent?
That was brought up at the last regular meeting, and I don't remember the numbers of letters. There were, I believe there were fewer opposed to this, and I hope I don't have it backwards, to this request for the extension of the temporary use permit than there was for the original. And the other is that on a temporary use permit, petitions are not acceptable. And the petitions that we received did not have civic addresses. So they weren't considered at all, just people that were opposed in general. And I think that's about all I can say on that. Council reviewed it and considered it and determined that it was in the best interest of the community as a whole, me being one of them, to proceed with the extension of the temporary use permit.
I did watch the council meeting, and I remember Neil Krogh speaking quite passionately about the fact that there were way more naysayers on this go round than there were the first time. And the first time the majority was against it, and they were overruled, and again they were overruled again. I'm just telling you what the community's saying.
No, and I appreciate that, and that's good to hear. What I would appreciate as a counselor then is a recommendation for a solution, because closing the shelter is not going to solve the issue. It's only going to exacerbate camps on the river, camps where they shouldn't be, up North Fork. And what we're trying to do as a council is to look after the community as a whole. And so if there is a suggestion that is going to benefit everybody, and in particular the people, those residents of the shelter that are taking advantage of it, that would be very much appreciated.
Can I just say that there's plenty of evidence that supports the fact that people that aren't wandering around out on the street and are fed are less likely to cause crime than those who have nowhere to go and nowhere to eat.
I agree with that evidence.
Any further questions for Anne? Further comments, Anne?
No.
All right. Okay. Do we have any other reports? I'm seeing a lot of heads shaking back and forth, left and right, so that sounds like a no to me. We'll move forward then. We had an item of old business that was left unfinished, just we ran out of time. At the last meeting, we had we addressed a proposal from Melissa Shulga regarding changes to the terms of reference, and as well as the development of a code of conduct. Through motion, that was split into two pieces. What we had was one motion to defer any potential changes to the TOR to the annual review. The second motion was to strike a subcommittee, which would be tasked with putting together a code of conduct. So we agreed on that. That motion was carried, but what we didn't do was assign the committee and the delegates to the committee. So with that said, maybe let's, I'll pass it over to Melissa first. Maybe there's something that Melissa would like to say as a preamble to this. Melissa?
Thank you, John. Not really. I pretty much just presented the work, and so that's about all I have to say on the matter. And unfortunately, I don't really have the free time to be able to join that standing committee. So hopefully they're able to take my input and tweak it as need be.
Okay. Well, that said, you know, we do have a motion on the table to strike a subcommittee. That, of course, is dependent on whether or not we get volunteers to work on it. I would like to bring a couple of procedural things forward here at this point. I've thought a little bit about this issue, and I think that, you know, there's been a need expressed, I think, as we've moved forward with the work of the advisory group over the last couple of years. to develop a code of conduct. Mr. Pratt, in his role of chair, brought it up, and it stayed on the agenda for months and months and was not dealt with. It came forward again through Melissa's resolution at the last couple of meetings, and here we are at a place where we've, we're talking about developing language. Melissa did some preliminary work, which everybody had received and had a chance to review. But there's a couple things that we need to remind ourselves of with regard to this, is that I was left with the impression, and correct me anyone if I'm wrong, but I was left with the impression that we had decided to treat the code of conduct as a secondary document to the terms of reference and addendum, so to speak, that we would reference in the actual terms, i.e. members of this committee are expected to adhere to the code of conduct. The code of conduct then would be a separate document. But where we have, and I speak to you through my experience in contract negotiation, and given that where we develop an expectation for any prescribed conduct, we also need to develop a process to accompany that that language. And the reason I say that is because should we enter into the realm where for one reason or another, a member of the committee wants to bring into question another member's conduct, we need to have process in place. So we need to be able to define what actually comprises a breach of the code of conduct. We also need to have in place due process such that any member whose conduct comes into question can refer to that process and expect due process accordingly. And given that, that means a means for an appeal, so to speak. So what I'm saying is that yes, code of conduct, we've recognized that there's perhaps a need for it. However, it's maybe a bigger job than most people are imagining, because accompanying that code, we need to include a clearly articulated process that we follow when or if that situation arises, and that needs to incorporate elements of fairness and appeal for any potential complaint or person that is it's being suggested that they might be in violation of it. So given that, I just wanted to put the bug in your ear that with regards to developing this document, one piece of it is developing the actual code, but the other piece, and equally as important, is how we're going to handle it. And so I wanted to put that forward, and I wanted to suggest at this point in time that to the volunteers that take this on as a subcommittee, that will probably be an expectation that we're going to need to look at. So with that said, is there any discussion in regard to what I've just put forward here?
Yeah, John, I have a comment on that. And basically just that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are definitely other groups that have these codes of conducts and these things already outlined. So while it will take time to research which situation is appropriate for us, there are a lot of templates out there. So I don't want to discourage the volunteers that you're having to recreate a whole new system. It's just a matter of weighing what systems are out there and what would be most appropriate in our position. So hopefully that helps a little.
Yeah, fair enough. I hear you. And I think you're right that like there certainly are examples that the committee could look at and model after. But all I'm saying is that insofar as the work of the committee goes, that it's probably a good idea that the preparation of any package has to include not only the code but the process as well. So that's my only cautionary note there. And yeah, there's probably all sorts of examples of language out there that this committee could be looking at. So with that said, any further questions? Okay, not hearing any. Volunteers to work on this document?
John, can you take down the screen share?
Yes,
So
I sure can.
see
Yeah.
everybody? Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm sorry. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Volunteers then? Okay, I'm not seeing any volunteers. This is work that has to be done, but I guess it's gonna take shape when people are ready for it. I'm gonna suggest that somebody put a motion on the table to simply table this, and we will bring it up as old business down the line and see if anyone's willing to volunteer. Juliana, you're gonna make the motion?
Yeah, I'd like to table this for another time, because if nobody is willing to volunteer, I was on the original committee with yourself, of course, and I don't want to, getting busy now, so I don't want to volunteer for anything else right now. But nobody else is going to do that, then yeah, just move it ahead for a couple of months before, or even when we redo the words of reference themselves in another year.
Okay, we have a motion to table the composition of the subcommittee until a future date. We need a seconder for that motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, and Palmer seconds. Discussion? Not seeing any, we'll call the question. All in favor of tabling the motion until future date?
Aye.
Any opposed? I hear no opposition. That motion is carried. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have one final item here. We had a deferred motion, and I think what Chris had in mind when he put it on the agenda, I talked to him the other night about this, is that largely the matter discussed in the motion has largely been dealt with by council, but we had deferred the motion. So just as a procedural piece here, we probably want to dispose of the motion one way or another. That can take on a couple different forms. The simplest thing would be to withdraw the motion. I don't know if that's 100% purposeful. Maybe there's some reason to keep the motion alive. I will, with the motion's already on the table and was seconded, so we don't need to go through that again. What I will do is read the motion, and then you can discuss whether or not you feel like you still want to address the motion. And if not, we can have someone move to withdraw the motion if need be. So that said, it was moved that the GFSSAG recommend to the city that there would be a benefit for a year-round shelter. So just to explain, we have had council grant an extension on the TUP. That is a temporary permit. So in a way, the motion goes a little bit beyond what council has already done. Council has granted a temporary permit until, my understanding was the end of March of 2022. That in consideration, this is more of a general statement which suggests that we recommend to the city that there is a benefit to the year-round shelter. Discussion, please. Would you like to continue with discussion on this motion or not?
Tammy here.
Yeah, Tammy.
So I put the motion on the table.
Yeah.
I did not word it exactly that way, but it's fairly close to what I was getting at. I think there's great value in leaving the motion on the table because I do think that we should support and ask our council to support a year-round shelter. There is benefit to a year-round shelter.
Okay, hence my reason for asking you, because I felt it was more of a general statement than specific to the TUP.
Yep.
Any other comment?
Not from me.
Okay. Anyone else?
Do we not think that seeing as now they have got a year-round shelter, we would be better off to address this at the end of March and see how it's worked out for everybody?
Okay, interesting point. Anyone else? No further discussion? Oh, Juliana, I saw a hand.
Sorry, I was just going to agree with Anne. I think it should be deferred.
Okay, there's two things we can do. We can, okay, let me think here. This gets complicated. We can withdraw the motion. We can create a new motion that you know, defers it to the end of next March. That would require a second motion. So I can call the question on this motion. And that again reads, moved that the GFSSAG recommend to the city that there would be a benefit to a year-round shelter, or for a year-round shelter. Any further discussion?
I do not wish to withdraw the motion.
Okay. Mr. Pratt will be recusing himself from any vote on this motion for obvious conflict here. So anyone else? I'm going to call the question then. All in favor of the motion? Can I see voices against, please? And I will have to do some scrolling. Tanis, you're against the motion? Okay, I'm calling for anyone against. I've got 1, 2 against, and
Jan, can you read the motion again?
yes, I can. Yeah.
Fusion. Yeah.
Moved that the GFSSAG recommend to the city that there would be a benefit for year-round shelter.
John, maybe call the roll for those for and against. That might be easier than show of hands.
Okay, I think I've got it. Any against the motion? I saw Anne and Juliana. Okay.
Is for or against?
Against. So that's carried. We have a majority in favor with 2 against, for the record. Okay, that motion is carried. So the GFSAD recommends to the city that there would be a benefit for a year-round shelter. Alrighty then. That brings us to new business. We have no new business on the table. However, I should, I was kind of torn on this. Juliana's piece with regard to the age appropriate initiatives for that we already looked at could have actually been included under new business here. I just decided to deal with it along with her report for expediency's sake. Any other new business? I see no one with, and late items. Nothing. Okay, next steps. We did have a motion, two motions that came out of this. We had the building age-friendly communities, and we had a commitment from Christine to carry that forward in her report to council next time around, which is great. Thank you, Christine. We had another motion here, move that the city recommend with regard to the benefit of the year-round shelter. Christine, can we put that on your plate as well?
Yes, I will include that also in my
Okay.
report to council for the 3rd of May.
Okay, perfect. Any further next steps? That said, I'm not seeing any further suggestions there. We have a next meeting scheduled for 1:15 p.m. May 19th via Zoom again. Everybody okay with that date? Okay, well, thank you, committee. Well done. I need a motion from somebody to adjourn the meeting, please. That's from Christine, seconder on that. Okay, Tanis, second, and any opposed? Looks like school's out early today, folks. Thank you. And we will see you May the 19th. Cheers.
Yeah, John? Was
Yeah.